Welcome to Daily Devo. I'm Pat. Today we're going to talk about, well, wait and see. Habits of holiness. Habits of holiness. The phrase has a nice ring to it, although for some it may also carry an old-fashioned, dusty, legalistic characteristic that leaves us with a bad taste in our mouth. Well, all one has to do is pause or peruse the Bible, to find out that we cannot avoid this concept of habits of holiness. So allow me to attempt to blow the dust off this idea and move it from this yucky legalistic notion to one of beauty and inspiration. In 1 Peter chapter 1, 15 through 16, Peter writes this. He states, "But now you must be holy in everything you do, just as God who chose you is holy. For the scripture says you must be holy because I am holy." Now let me work backwards in these two verses. In verse 16, Peter is actually quoting a verse from Leviticus at the very beginning, something God told his people 1,500 years before Peter wrote this, or for us, 3,500 years ago. God said, "Be holy as I am holy." Now that begs the question, what does it mean to be holy? The Hebrew word for holiness is kadesh, and literally meant set apart or separate or to sanctify. So when God stated that he was holy, he's describing himself as being set apart or separate, unique from anything and anyone. Then he calls you and me to be the same, to be holy like he is. But wait, this seems to be counterintuitive. I mean, how can we be like God? After all, he's infinite and we're finite. He's perfect and we're flawed. He's eternal and we're mortal. How can we be holy or separate or set apart like he is? The answer is found in one of the many titles or names used of God, that when translated literally means, "I am Adonai, God. I am God who sanctifies you." Another way of saying this is, I am the set-apart God who makes you my set-apart people. Now, most of us, because we're Westerners in our thinking, are viewing this from a positional posture. It's not all wrong, because it should leave you in awe, overwhelmed with thankfulness that God has called you and me his set-apart people. Wow! But we can't stop there. You see, ancient Hebrew is a language of action. So when it speaks to God making us holy, our holiness then also has to have an active role, meaning God is asking you and me to participate in his holiness, to participate in his nature, to participate in his character, to participate in his works. Now, with that in mind, listen again to the first part of verse 15. "But now you must be holy in everything you do." God is calling us to a habit of holiness, which fits perfectly in this series we're looking at, this series that is exploring what the Bible, has to say about our rhythms and routines and habits. God is telling you and me as his children to have a habit of holiness. What does that mean? It means that in everything we do, whether that be work, play, sleeping, eating, sex, we do it participating in his nature, in his character, in his works. So ask yourself, how would Jesus eat? What would Jesus eat? How would Jesus talk about this person behind their back? How would Jesus respond to a spouse that is having a bad day? What would Jesus say to that person who slandered them? How would Jesus spend your money? What would Jesus watch? What would Jesus listen to? What would Jesus post on social media? What would Jesus not post on social media? This is what it means to develop habits of holiness. There's actually a book titled Habits of Holiness, in which the author states, the things we plant in our life are the things that grow in our life. So what are you planting? In your thoughts, in your actions, in your responses, in your plans. God is saying, I've set you apart like I am, so live it out in a beautiful way.